And our Political Insiders segment begins right now. I just want to say that Tony May is on some personal business tonight, and he cannot be with us, but we have Charlie Giroux, so we're still going to cover some issues.
Yes, we are. Thanks for being here.
Always a pleasure.
So let's begin with Hal Mowry. We said a little bit about him before the break. He was a good friend.
Hal was a good friend. He was a great legislator, a tremendous public servant, a very successful small businessman, and a great community leader. He will be missed. He will always be loved, and to Phyllis and his family, our heartfelt condolences go out. He had a remarkable career, as you pointed out, both in the State House, winning a primary against the endorsed established candidate, went on to serve with distinction there, ran for lieutenant governor unsuccessfully, and then went back into public life in the state senate and ran a very successful insurance brokerage on the West Shore for many, many years.
He'll be missed.
He will.
Yes, he will. He did a lot.
All right, some news out of Washington that both our senators, Democrat Bob Casey, Republican Toomey, announced today that they are not going to support President Obama's nominee, Devo Adegbile. Now, that's a pretty big deal to have both of our senators on the same side on this.
This all goes back to a cop killer in Philadelphia who unfortunately became a media darling and a Hollywood icon for murdering a police officer in cold blood. Not only shot Danny Faulkner, but once he had shot him, hovered over him and blasted his face away while he lay dying on the ground, went to the trial and smirked at his widow when they held up the bloody shirt. A cold-blooded killer, convicted by a jury of his peers, sentenced to death. Years later, this gentleman, whose name I can't pronounce, comes onto the scene with the NAACP and files a bunch of appeals. He says now, well, everybody's entitled to a lawyer. Cop killer had more lawyers than O.J. Simpson could ever possibly have imagined. He had plenty of legal representation, but the long and the short of it was, through his efforts, a death sentence was put aside, and now the taxpayers will take care of a convicted police killer for the rest of his life.
And as you said when you came on, if Tony were here,
Tony would agree. I mean, Bob Casey, obviously a Democrat, joining with Pat Toomey in opposition. They're not the only bipartisan team. The Democratic District Attorney of Philadelphia, Seth Williams, opposes this probably more than anybody because he was part of the prosecution team that convicted Abdul Jamal.
Casey's saying it's important that we ensure that Pennsylvanians and citizens across the country have full confidence in their public representatives.
I mean, to be very candid, if this isn't Barack Obama's worst nomination, I think you'd have to go very, very deep to find one that's worse.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Charlie. We are out of time.
My pleasure.
All right. And you can see our Political Insiders every Tuesday right here on CBS 21 News at 5:30.